Tonight, before you go to sleep, your body is already deciding how well you will sleep. Not based on how tired you are, not based on how dark your room is, not based on what time you set your alarm, based on a single hormone that most people never think about at night: cortisol. And a study published in one of the world's leading sleep science journals tracked this hormone in real people for 15 consecutive days and found something that changes how we understand the relationship between stress and sleep. If you have ever lain awake at night, mind racing, body tense, unable to switch off, this research may explain exactly why. Before we go any further, because this is curious and verified, here is the source. The study is titled Daily Associations Between Salivary Cortisol and Electroencephalographic-Assessed Sleep, a 15-day intensive longitudinal study. It was published in Sleep, the official journal of the Sleep Research Society, published by Oxford Academic. The publication date was September 9, 2024. The researchers were from RMIT University and Monash University in Melbourne, Australia. The full link is in the description below. Everything in this video comes directly from this research. Now, let's get into it. First, what is cortisol? Cortisol is often called the stress hormone, but that label is misleading. Cortisol is essential. It helps regulate your energy levels, your immune response, your blood pressure, and your metabolism. And crucially, it follows a rhythm. Under normal circumstances, cortisol is high in the morning. It peaks within the first hour after waking, a response scientists call the cortisol awakening response. Then, throughout the day, it gradually declines. By evening, it should be low, and that low evening cortisol is part of what allows melatonin to rise and sleep to begin. This rhythm is not just useful, it is necessary. When it is disrupted, sleep suffers. The problem with most existing research on cortisol and sleep is that it was cross-sectional, meaning researchers would measure cortisol and sleep quality at a single point in time and look for a correlation. But a single measurement cannot tell you which came first. Does high cortisol cause poor sleep? Or does poor sleep cause elevated cortisol? Or is the relationship moving in both directions at once? This study was designed to answer that question, and the method it used was unusually rigorous. 95 young adults participated in the study. Each participant provided 2 saliva samples per day, every day, for 14 consecutive days. 1 sample in the morning, within 2 hours of waking. 1 sample in the evening, within 4 hours of their usual bedtime. In total, the study collected over 2,000 saliva samples. At the same time, each participant wore a device that recorded their sleep using electroencephalography, EEG, for 15 consecutive nights. This produced data from over 900 nights of real, at-home sleep. Not in a laboratory, not on a single night. Real sleep, in real conditions, over 2 weeks. And what did the data show? The first finding confirmed what researchers had long suspected, but never measured this precisely in daily life. Higher cortisol in the evening predicted shorter sleep that night. Not just slightly shorter. The relationship was consistent across the sample. When cortisol was elevated before bed, total sleep time decreased. And sleep efficiency, the proportion of time in bed actually spent asleep, also declined. In other words, if your cortisol is high when you lie down, your brain is not ready to sleep. It is still in a state of physiological alertness, and that alertness takes time to overcome. But here is where the study becomes more interesting, because the researchers also asked the reverse question. If your sleep is poor tonight, what happens to your cortisol tomorrow? And the answer was clear. Shorter sleep duration was associated with a flatter diurnal cortisol slope the following day. Let me explain what that means. A healthy cortisol rhythm has a steep slope. High in the morning, low by evening. A flat slope means the morning peak is blunted and evening levels remain higher than they should be. And a flat cortisol slope has been consistently linked in previous research to poorer mood, lower cognitive performance, and worse physical health outcomes. So poor sleep does not just leave you tired. It flattens the hormonal rhythm that your body depends on for the entire following day. This creates what the researchers described as a bidirectional relationship. High cortisol disrupts sleep. Disrupted sleep elevates cortisol. Elevated cortisol disrupts the next night's sleep. And so the cycle continues, day after day, night after night. The study was able to demonstrate this cycle in real-world data, precisely because it tracked the same individuals across 15 consecutive days. This is not a theory. It is a documented pattern, measured in over 900 nights of actual human sleep. There is one more layer to this finding worth understanding. The cortisol the researchers measured was salivary cortisol, collected from saliva samples, not blood. This is important because it allowed the study to be conducted outside a laboratory. The participants were going about their normal lives. They were not artificially stressed. They were not sleeping in unfamiliar conditions. The cortisol patterns the researchers found reflect what happens in ordinary daily life when people experience ordinary levels of daily stress. This makes the findings directly relevant to most people in a way that laboratory studies often cannot be. The study also found variation at the individual level. Some participants showed stronger cortisol sleep associations than others. The researchers noted that the relationship between cortisol and sleep is not identical for everyone. Factors including age, baseline stress levels, and individual differences in the stress response system all influence how strongly cortisol affects a given person's sleep. This is consistent with what we know from the broader sleep science literature, that sleep is deeply individual. And it reinforces a point that has come up in previous videos on this channel. Averages tell you about populations, but your sleep is shaped by your biology. So what does this research tell us in practical terms? The study does not offer prescriptions. That is not its purpose. What it does tell us is this: the cortisol you carry into the night is not neutral. If your stress system is still active when you lie down, if your body is still in a state of heightened physiological alertness, your sleep will be shorter and less efficient. And if that poor sleep becomes a pattern, it feeds back into your cortisol rhythm the following day. The relationship between stress and sleep is not one-directional. It is a loop. And measuring that loop, in real people, over real time, is what this study accomplished. Let's bring this back to where we started. A hormone you have probably never thought about at night is quietly shaping the quality of your sleep. And the sleep you get tonight is shaping the hormonal balance of your entire tomorrow. Researchers from RMIT University and Monash University tracked this relationship across 15 days and over 900 nights of real sleep data and published their findings in Sleep, one of the most respected journals in sleep science. The evidence does not tell you what to do, but it does tell you something important about what is happening every time you lie down and find that sleep does not come easily. The full study is linked in the description. Free to read, peer-reviewed, and published by Oxford Academic. As always on this channel, the source comes first. If you have a question about the research or a topic you'd like us to cover next, leave it in the comments. Subscribe if you want more, and we'll see you in the next one.